Okay, so we're back. Another Element Enduro Gatekeeper build. So we got one part of the electronics. You can see we got a Power HD servo in there. So we'll unbox that here pretty quick. But I just want to give a rundown of kind of the next couple steps we're going to be working on. So electronics is next, and then we move into the transmission. So these are the gears we continued to talk about right from video number 1. The factory gears are going to be plastic. These ones are the factory team steel gears. So ASC 42032, and like I said, Stealth X machine gear set. So these are going to be the big ones. So it's weird that they give you plastics, because when I built my Enduro Sendero kit, it did have the steels in there. So kind of weird. But let's unbox this servo and let's see what we're working with and get on to the build. Okay, so here is the brand spanking new HD40KG by Power HD. So this is going to be a full aluminum case, waterproof, which is a big update over the R30. The R30 was not waterproof, but this guy is going to come with some crazy high torque, especially if you are going to run it on 8.4. So we're probably going to run this 8.4, considering we are going to go with probably a Hobby Wing system in this guy, probably with a Spectrum radio, so that'll handle 9.6 on the receiver. But you can see it's not the fastest servo in the world. We're 20 milliseconds on the speed there, so not the fastest thing in the world, but 402 ounces still only on 6 volt, and you're looking at 0.17 at 555 ounces on 8.4. So if you rock this on 7.4, you should be kind of somewhere in the middle. I'm going to say probably like 460, 475 or so. But yeah, crazy that you can run it on 6 volts, 8.4 volts. I still would highly recommend, if you are just going to be using like a standard Traxxas, say XL5, probably put a BEC on it, because you are going to want the amperage, and the voltage on those guys are pretty low. So just a heads up. So taking the lid off, you get these fancy dancy. They're actually metallic, which is kind of hard to see. You can kind of see it in the silver, but some nice gunmetal decals here. You get a nice little warranty card, things like that. So nothing too major, kind of what you get in all the Power HDs. The one downside is you are only going to get plastic servo horns. On some of the first gen blue waterproof servos, they did include an aluminum horn, but these are all going to be plastic. Kind of a downside. But this is really what everyone's waiting for. It comes in a nice velvet tin. But this is the big Mamba Jamba. So I like that they milled down the blue anodized case after it was all anodized. Give it that nice little look. It is going to be waterproof, like I said. But the beautiful part is you can see that there is going to be a seal between the cases there and the bottom case there. So that's just a nice little O-ring. I highly do recommend. We usually take these apart, throw a little bit more conformal on that board. So you just take these 4 screws out, which are going to be an Allen key screw. Looks like a 1.5, which is super, super nice. No more Phillips, which is kind of terrible on some of the other servos. But yeah, nice lead. Comes out nice. Has a little grommet O-ring there to seal the wires off. The one thing that I get a lot of asks on this too is how long is the lead? And as you can see, this one is going to be quite long, which is really, really nice. Other thing to make sure you pay attention to is this white stripe on the one lead. That is just going to signify that that is your signal lead. So getting down into this, we can probably put the receiver kind of mid-back of the truck, considering how long this lead's going to be. So that's probably what we're going to do. But let's continue building. I'm going to like ooh and ah over this servo a little bit more off camera, but you guys don't need to see it anymore. Okay, so the next process of getting the Enduro done here, the Gatekeeper, is going to be doing the battery box. So it does come with 2 boxes, the long and the short box, so short and long, sorry. And it also is going to come with 2 Velcro straps and some double-sided tape. On the opposite side here, you're getting a plastic servo horn, which we are going to be putting a aluminum one in, an antenna tube, and some hardware. So they do call for the short battery tray in here, so a shorty battery will work. There is some 3D printed mods to run the battery this way in the truck, so parallel in between the 2 frame rails. And you run it all the way back. It will require a bumper mount servo, so you take this bumper out and the servo sits there instead of in the standard location. But we're going to build it this way for now. I did get one of our locals here, thank you Brian, for printing me off that bumper mounted servo. But we'll just do this standard for now, and we'll see where it goes from there. But let's get these battery mounts installed, and let's go from there. There you go. Battery tray is installed. Didn't think anybody wanted to watch me do that. So it's just 4 screws. They're just right under the Velcro straps here. But just a quick kind of pro tip, just with these Velcro straps that hook back and loop on itself, is you never want any of the hooker loop, so any of the actual Velcro material, touching the battery. That's the easiest way to get it right every single time. So you just want the back side of that Velcro actually touching the battery, and then you know you did it right. So I got that installed. So next up is mounting the servo, which is super nice because they do give us these nice pan head screws. So a little bit bigger surface area, so you can mount the screw without having to worry about, you know, throwing a washer, doing a countersunk washer or anything like that on the servo to give the servo kind of tangs or ears more strength. So let's get this servo installed. New Power HD servo is installed. There was one little hiccup. I don't know if the camera's gonna, oh yeah it does. So there is this screw, and you can see it, there's light all the way across, and there's one screw there and one screw holding the other side of the shock tower on that was just a smidge long. So I did have to back them out and file them a little bit. So just a heads up on that. If you look on the other side here, you can see that as well right there. So that screw just sticks out, and I just had to take my file and slightly file that. So just a heads up if you do have some issues mounting a little bit bigger servo. But that thing looks beautiful in here. So next up, we get to mount motor and speed control, which we will unbox on the next episode of the Gatekeeper build. So thank you everyone so much for tuning into this episode, and look for build, I guess, part number 3, because this is part number 2. So part number 3 coming next week. Motor and speed control should be here on Monday, so pretty pumped about that. And we'll see what we're putting in this for a motor and a speed control.